All right. Happy Saturday to everybody here. Hope everybody's doing okay. We have an all star cast backstage. We have a lot of information for you guys tonight. We have a lot of, excuse me, we have a lot of analytical minds backstage. We have a lot of information and things to present. I'm going to go over some rules for you guys. So I hope that you're hearing me. If you're going to chat, I don't mind anything that you guys talk about as long as you don't get into verbal altercations or start cussing at each other or start having any derogatory remarks toward anybody on panel. If you have any derogatory statements or any kind of sarcasm or snide remarks, I will time you out, or the mods will time you out. And, if it continues happening, you will be out of here. We don't play along with that stuff in here, and we're definitely not going to do it tonight. If you have a question for anybody that's on the panel, please put stars and then put their name after the stars. So if it's Swamp Rose, you can put Swamp, or you can put Kiki, or you can put Crime Sleuthin, or Warning Label, or 12 Gauge, or whatever, and they'll be able to get to that question. I anticipate a lot of people coming in tonight, so if it starts going rather fast, I might need to slow down the chat. But the biggest thing is we agree to disagree in here, and please keep the chat on topic on what the panel is talking about, because we don't want to be presenting all this stuff up here and you are talking about French fries and Whoppers, because it's kind of what the point? Why are we up here if we're going to talk about stuff that you guys are talking about, Whoppers and French fries or something like that? Okay, so y'all please stay on topic. And without further ado, I'm going to bring my panel guest up here, and they're going to give you a little bit of insight on themselves, and then we're going to start the show. Here's guest number one, guest number two, guest number three. All right.
Hello.
So who'd like to begin? Who'd like to tell the chat a little bit about themselves?
I think the most beautiful should go first. So you go first, Gage. No, I'm kidding. Swamp Rose, you go first.
Oh, that was so sweet. Well, thank you for having me on panel tonight. My name is Swamp Rose, or Kiki, for those who haven't met me. I have a channel here on YouTube and a true crime podcast, and I cover the case against Brian Koberger and the Idaho 4. So, yeah, and I just want to thank you for having me on again today, 12.
You're very welcome. Glad you're here. Nena?
Oh, that would be me. Hey, I'm Nena, or warning label Nena, because I come with a warning label. I have a new channel, trying to get it up and going. It's warning label discussions, or I think you can look it up by warning label Nena. Who knows? I cover anything. Mostly, I mean, you can say that right now it's mostly Idaho 4. So I just got finished covering Chris Tapp with the Angie Dodge murders. But other than that, my channel's new and I'm just opinionated.
Okay. Thank you so much. Crime Sleuthin?
Hi, everybody. I'm Crime Sleuthin. I need a warning label. Yeah, Nena, I need to follow you if I'm not following you on your new one. But yeah, I love this channel and the environment over here. I do a little bit of true crime, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. My heart has always belonged to Quentin Simon and the Idaho 4 case. So.
All right. We're happy that each and every one over here. And I am the man on the panel. My name is 12 Gauge, and this is my channel, 12 Gauge Investigative. Thank you so much for being here. All of my panel guests, it's it's taken a lot of money to persuade these women to get up here with me tonight. So, I broke the bank on this one. So I hope y'all enjoy it. No, I'm just kidding. But I hope that y'all enjoy the show tonight. What we're going to do is we're going to go creator by creator, and they're going to show you a little bit about their expertise on the case as far as what they've researched and what they've found. And then we're going to go to the other creator and then to the other creator. That way we don't really start talking all over each other and we're all over the place. And, that way we can keep some kind of balance in the chat and as well as on the panel. We are going to be talking about the 8-hour gap and more stuff regarding the Idaho 4 case. Have y'all ever heard of that case? It's kind of new. I don't know if y'all have heard about that or not.
Idaho 4.
I don't know. It's kind of new. I don't know. So, which one of you ladies would like to begin with your presentation?
I'm super interested to hear from Swamp Rose again.
Okay, Swamp, you want to start?
Well, I didn't, I guess if I'm just to start somewhere, I definitely think that the 8-hour time delay is what brought so much intrigue into this case. And it's the first thing that people want to know about when they learn about this case. I don't really know where to begin. I definitely have questions about not only the delay in the 8 hours, but just the lack of distress call in general from the moment of the crime happening. And my channel has always been open to many speculations about that because it's such an unknown. And also our First Amendment rights have been kind of stifled in that regard, not just in terms of the gag order, but the lack of transparency with the 911 call, like unable to obtain a transcript or any FOIA requests. So anyway, I've always thought about when it comes to the lack of distress call, I've always kind of proposed possibly some of Michael Aldario's theories about a stingray or some sort of cell phone tower interceptor. But anyway, I guess I'll start the conversation there.
Okay, very good. Go ahead. If you have anything that you want to pull up on the background, just let me know when you pull it up and then you can start presenting that.
Sure, definitely.
Like I was telling the ladies behind the scenes, I was telling them that I really didn't bring anything to talk about tonight. I'm just going to kind of wing it, if I'm asked for my opinion or whatever. I'm just going to wing it. I didn't bring any material. I figured, 3 people with a lot of material would be plenty, So.
Well, when it comes to Stingray, if it is something that we want to continue the discussion further, I definitely have little videos on it, Michael Adario's words on it. So, definitely I can bring that to the table if you want to, but anyway.
Yeah. Why don't we just start with introducing what a Stingray is to the audience and how you feel that had something to do with the 8-hour delay.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So like I was saying, when we talk about the 8-hour delay, we're talking about the delay in the 911 call. So I've also talked about the lack of distress call, even at the scene. And of course, everything I say is just complete speculation, but it is kind of curious. You think all of these young adults with their cell phones, couldn't somebody have asked like their cell phone assistant to call 911 or something along those lines? Not just one of them couldn't do that, but all 4 and technically all 6 failed to do so. Now, we know very little about the interaction or the forensic downloads of the roommates as well. What's interesting is when you think about the letter that Steve Gonzalez wrote attorney Andrew Myers that talked about how Kaylee's phone went offline at 2:56. And then even other things in the PCA, like Brian Kohlberger's phone, which we don't know exactly what's going on. The defense has a different story than the prosecution, but his cell phone going offline around the same time. It just brings up the theory stemmed from, and I think originally I saw this on Crime Circus. There are a lot of places on Google Maps that are kind of blurred out. And Michael Audario is a professional photographer, and he went out there and he started studying some of these areas, and they looked as if they might have had something removed from them. And so there's a whole idea that possibly because of that area, maybe there was some sort of cell phone interceptor. And what that is it's basically a device. A lot of people nickname them stingrays, and they were originally designed in Iraq to intercept IEDs, so inner explosive devices. I don't know what the abbreviation is, but these explosive devices that are set off by cell phones. And so originally they were created to do that, but now governments, local governments, and certain law enforcement offices, through different means, can use these things, and they mimic a cell phone tower. So anything you do, instead of going to the cell tower first, goes through the stingray. One of the problems with these stingrays is they're notorious for dropping distress calls, to the point where there has been lawsuits. And there's like a well-known lawsuit out of New York where somebody tries to dial 911 and the call gets dropped. So, I mean, I don't know if this plays a role, but when we talk about speculating and we talk about such a mysterious time delay, I can't help but bring that up. And one last thing I will leave you with: when Michael Audario was out there, and I interviewed him on my channel, that's where I'm getting this information. When he went out there to document, because he is a victim's advocate, he's worked for other victims in the past. He actually went out to go take photographs, and of like where the iconic shoe line was, and they actually had gone out and tightened all the wires, and a lot of things had changed from the original photographs. I'll leave it at that, but I don't know.
Okay.
I hope I explained.
I have a question for you, Swamp, or Kiki. During this cell phone drop, since we're talking about the 8-hour gap, let's kind of all get on the same page as far as when the 8 hours starts for the crime. Do you all believe that the 8 hours started at what time? 4:23? Would that have been the 8 hour from 4:23 to 11:56?
Probably about 4:17.
Okay, so that's the time frame we're talking about, right? So at what time, Kiki, would you think that those stingrays were being implemented?
You're muted, Kiki.
Wouldn't be a show with Swamp Rose if I didn't mute myself. Right. So the thing is that you could have tons of cell phone communication and no problems whatsoever, or you could have problems. I mean, they do cause issues. There's like a whole list of 10 different symptoms if your phone's using them. But truly, the problem arises when somebody calls 911 or texts 911 or does any communication, because there's something about the feature of having that 911 call that causes it to be dropped. So I don't know. I'm just saying, if a distress call was put out, it could have been dropped. Speculation.
Okay.
Speculation.
Okay, so you're kind of going along the line that if somebody did call 911 in that house during any of the time, whether it be during the crime or after the crime, the call could have been dropped because of these stingrays. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, or maybe there wasn't an 8-hour time delay. I'm not saying from one of the surviving roommates, but maybe 911 was called that night at some point and call was dropped.
Okay. I can dig that. What do y'all think? Crime Sleuthin, Nena, do y'all have any feedback for Kiki? I mean, any positive feedback on this?
I'm positive I know nothing about stingrays.
Complicated.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, they are pretty complex. I mean, it's a great theory, and I've seen some of Kiki's videos on that, and it is complex. But we can't act like it doesn't happen. Anything's possible in this crime. Is there anything else that you'd like to present, Kiki, or do you want to come back and?
Yeah, I have tons to say on the subject. I guess I'm just, I just wanted to start the conversation with that. I'll talk about anything
Okay.
you guys brought me.
Okay. Um, well, let's go with Nena since she's to the left of you, and we'll let Nena present a little bit, and then we'll let Crime Sleuth, and then we'll come back to you if that's okay.
Sounds great.
Okay. Nena?
Okay. I have the unpopular opinion that the 8 hours is totally innocent and can be explained.
Okay.
Don't shoot me off the paint.
No, we all agree to disagree up here. It's cool. Go ahead.
I'm with you, Nina.
I think that with the fight that happened and everything, that Bethany and Dylan thought that it had continued over to the house, and that they heard the rummaging of furniture and stuff like that, but honestly thought that it was a fight. And I think that once the perpetrator left, that Dylan ran downstairs and got in bed with Bethany, because in the PCA, I won't say PCA, I will say Exhibit A, because I do believe that the PCA is sealed and we have an Exhibit A. But I think that in the Exhibit A, it says that Dylan was originally went to bed in her bed. And you don't have an originally unless something changes.
Okay.
So she originally went to bed in her room, but then went downstairs, got in the bed with Bethany because they thought the fight was over. The frat guys had left. And one of them woke up the next morning and was like, well, dang, something's wrong. And that's my opening. Next.
Well, do you want to talk about any of these photos that you sent me? I mean, I could put
Okay.
those on the
I
channel.
would like to address that because I know that so many people talk about that they spent all this time cleaning up the crime scene. So I put out a video, sort of not debunking it. I don't want to say that, but I wanted people to understand how difficult it is to clean up a crime scene. I'm actually trying to put together an interview with a guy. He owns a crime scene cleaning company. That's what his company does. And I talked to him extensively this week. And, it doesn't matter. I mean, there's before and after pictures where the room looks completely, pristine, cleaned and everything. And then they shine the black light and there it is. You can see the rag marks. You can see the mop marks, and no matter how good of a job somebody does, the luminol, the amino black, is it amino black amino, whatever. And then I think there's Blue Star, there's different kinds, but no matter what they use, it picks it up. I don't care if it's just a speck, it picks it up.
Okay, so this is this is not a photo from the Idaho poorhouse. I
No,
don't
none
want
of
to
these.
start any.
I,
I don't want to start any rumors. I don't want to
no,
start any.
they're only examples.
Yeah, these are just examples. Okay, let me go ahead and put that on a banner because you know how things go, right?
Oh,
Can you go ahead and give us a little bit about what you see on this panel?
well, that one, of course, is from a crime scene where, you can tell it's a footprint. And that's the thing about it is, there's some in there of footprints. There's some in there of handprints. There's a bathroom picture that's a before and after that the bathroom is completely clean, completely. And then the after picture, it shows everything that they missed. And so,
Okay.
just because you think that it's clean, it doesn't, there's no way. It gets in the crevices. It gets in the grout. Any kind of porous, it can stay there forever.
Well, what I've
I'm,
done research when I've done research on this because I've had videos on this on in my library, and I don't know if you've been into live to see it. When they're talking about these latent prints like this, they're not clear to the naked eye. So people are always asking in some of the chats that I've been in and some of the panels, well, how did they miss the latent shoe print? How did they miss it the first time around? How did they not pick it up until the second time around? That sounds suspicious. So is this kind of what you're talking about at the moment?
So, I mean, because what happens is, I mean, when you see the before and afters, if I'm the person doing it, then I think, oh man, I got it all, and then they come in with that dad blame ultraviolet light, and it's like, oh well, I'm screwed, I mean, because there's no, you're talking what, 20, 21-year old, I call them kids because I'm 55, so they're a kid to me.
Right.
But there's the bathroom. I mean, you can tell that it looks totally good. And
Yeah.
then there it is. I mean, and so you're going to call a bunch of frat guys over, and they're going to come over with their mop and water, even bleach. I mean, they did it with hydrogen peroxide. They did it with bleach. They did it with all kinds of anything, any kind of cleaning solution you could get, and with the experiments. I mean, one of the um, experiments that I read was 222 pages.
Wow.
And I mean, that's the kind of detail. And I mean, it told, you know, okay, we're using this cleaner. Okay, we're using this, and this, And I didn't figure I'm probably one of the only people that would ever read 222 pages, but I put the link in there anyway. I mean,
Right.
but, you can never get it clean enough. And it, especially in 8 hours. I mean, 8 hours wouldn't be enough to clean up that. And the thing about it is, what are you cleaning up? They've already said that the crime scene was, just the worst thing they'd ever seen, you know? So, I mean, what would be the sense in cleaning it up? What would be the sense in, mopping and all that? I mean, you left the bedrooms. I mean,
Right. Well, as we see in this photo, like on the, if you're watching this on a TV or on a phone, this would be the left-hand side where the bathroom is totally lit up and you can't see any blood. You can't see any on the floor. You can't see any on the toilet, in the bathtub. You can't see droplets on the tile. And then you turn the light off, you get the luminol, you get the amino black, you get the black light, and look how it lights up. It just, I mean, somebody has cleaned up a lot of blood in that area. And to the naked eye, you could walk in and be like, "Oh, nothing happened here." And then here on the right side, you definitely see something happened. I like this next photo too. Whoa,
yeah,
what
that
the
one's
hell?
pretty wicked.
What is
That's pretty
that?
wicked.
That's creepy.
Yeah, that one's pretty wicked looking. I think that's one of the pictures I used on my thumbnail.
What is
That needs to
that?
go in an intro
It's
video or
actually
something.
it's a female shirt.
Oh, I was like,
See the long sleeves and everything.
Give me a
So
heads up.
she put it through the washing machine and everything, thinking that all the blood was out.
No
And
way.
then they lit it up.
okay, so she washed this, and
Yes.
even after it was washed, you could still see the blood. And
Yep.
because I don't believe that people understand that when blood or any kind of liquid is secreted from the body, the proteins and the lipids and everything coagulate together. So it's not like if you wipe it away, there's still the residue of the coagulation left on the surface. So I'm not trying to take over your presentation, Nina. Tell me to shut
No,
up.
I'm not like that.
I'm liking these. This, go ahead and explain this one, please.
That was pretty wicked too.
Crime Sleuthin, Swamp, what do y'all think about these photos?
I think they're very interesting. As you know, I have a few that I'm going to share too. But those
Yes.
are really not so cool, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I have a morbid kind of sense of humor and all that. I just love that photo, even though that's creepy.
What do you think, Kiki?
Well, I first off, it's impressive to me, like when you talk about the cleanup, when you talk about that dress, that just shows you how difficult it is to clean up blood, throwing it through the washer machine. I will say that there was a really good point brought up in the chat. Let's see, it was at 10:29. I saw somebody ask a good question I wanted to ask you guys, which was Bree Silva. She said, so how does someone leave one shoe print?
Oh, I think my presentation will explain that.
Oh, perfect.
You go ahead too, Nina, if you want. I'm not sorry.
No, go ahead, because I mean, if they have a question, I mean, they're who we're here for.
Okay,
cool. When it's my turn, whenever that comes, then I'll show it.
look at this.
I mean, that right there, the knife. I mean, of course the person thought they had all the blood off. I mean, you put that damn thing through the dishwasher, it's all gone, right?
Right. My theory on the one latent print, and I've always joked around this, and it's not a joking matter, but I said it was a one-legged man, walking through, took his prosthetic off, and anyways. Okay, shut up, 12.
So
Go ahead, Nina.
on this
gosh.
photo, if I could make a quick comment on this photo, this
Yes.
is very similar to the photo that was brought up in the what is her name? Darley something in Texas.
Yes.
This is very similar. Is this from that case? Because it looks very
Yes.
similar. She had ran that through the dishwasher and it still
Yeah.
lit up.
Exactly. That's the reason I said it through the dishwasher.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know if he wanted me to tell what case it was from or not.
Yeah, that's fine. No,
Oh.
there's no you can do as you wish here. We're totally live.
I know, and I looked up. I was gonna do them by case and stuff like that, but then it's like, that's just, there's so many of them that have been busted out by the luminol and stuff like that. But the one that got me was one here in Alabama where I live. They killed the father and his wife they were going through a custody battle. And these people went through the trouble of replacing tiles, everything, and they still got busted out.
That brings up the Karen Reed case, if y'all are familiar with that. Karen has been fighting to get the carpet and the material from the basement, and she got the carpet. Now she's trying to get the concrete that was underneath as well to see what they can find, because it's going to still be there if it was there.
Right. I mean, these pants right here, obviously, you would probably think, well, I washed these, so the blood is off of them. Look at all the splatter. Look at all where they put their handprints and everything. Their hand. I mean, it looks like a glove was in the pocket right there or something. Right. I mean, I don't believe that people understand the forensic part of all that.
People they're talking about peroxide, and one of the studies, they actually did it with peroxide, and it still showed up.
Yeah. I mean, so what we're saying right now, the 8-hour gap, there's been so much talk that there was a cleanup. What were they cleaning up? Is the question. If the crimes happened in the bedrooms, and Dylan didn't mention in the PCA anything about seeing the guy clad in black dripping in blood. She didn't mention any of that. So what would they have been cleaning up? That's the big question. Do y'all have any theories on that?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, first, we don't know everything that she stated to police. We only know what they put in the PCA. So I think that is all going to come out at trial, and will probably fill in some gaps for a lot of people. Like in the PCA, if you read where there's only little bits that are in quotation marks, which means it was from her. So I think they took little bits from her actual police report statement, which we've never seen, and created the PCA with that. So we don't know. She could have seen a knife. She could have seen blood. We just don't know.
Yeah, that's amazing. And there was wooden floors, so if there was, I don't know. Go ahead, Nina. This is your presentation. 12, shut up.
No, 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 no.
Go ahead,
This
Nina.
is
Go
this
ahead,
is your
Nina.
Shut up, too.
the wooden floors. I did talk to him about laminate floors, wooden floors, because I didn't know if they were laminate or wood. Um, and he said that those were, especially the wood floors, is because of getting in between, what is it, the cracks, I say. I mean, because wood floors don't have grout, but, they do have grooves, that, and see, the thing about it, especially, he said that like with carpet, that when they go in and clean a crime scene, that they literally rip the carpet up, the padding up, and the subfloor because it goes all the way down to the wood. And so, they have to cut sections, whatever sections the blood is and everything. They literally have to cut that out and, I guess construction comes in and replaces that. But in order to pass OSHA and all the guidelines and everything, if it means cutting floors, walls, or whatever out, they have to cut it out.
Have you seen the YouTube videos that crime scene cleanup companies have where they show literal what they walk into?
Yeah.
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah,
And then they have to
I
come back.
watched a lot of those, but I was like, yeah, those are probably too graphic.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't share them, but yeah, y'all can find them. They're on there, and then they have to come back through. As you probably know, they have to come back through a couple times with luminol and make
Oh
sure
yeah.
they've got everything.
And here's the thing about it is I did not realize until I talked to him the dangers of the crime scene as far as airborne. Because when I think of the crime scene, I think of how gruesome it probably looked, as far as seeing it. I didn't think of, the dangers of all the airborne, because he talked about E. coli. He talked about, I've got a list of, I think I sent the list, I don't know, but he sent me a list of all kind of stuff that can be airborne for like weeks.
C.
I
diff
mean,
would be a big one. C. diff is commonly in our bodies, but after we pass away, those gases come out, and that can be in
right.
here.
And I talked to him about the decomp, because people talk about that they couldn't have stayed in there with the smell and all that. And he said that the biggest misperception that people have is that that's immediate, and that that is not an always thing of the bowels and stuff. It does do that, but it doesn't have to do that. But he said that the smell and stuff like that wouldn't hit somebody immediately, that it wouldn't just immediately walk through the house, and he said,
Right.
especially if the bedroom doors were shut.
Well, we found my daddy after he'd been gone he passed away. We kind of ascertained that it was Saturday afternoon, and we found him Sunday evening. So it was a little over 24 hours. There was no smell.
Well, and I'm not trying, like I said, and when I was doing this, and even doing the interview next week, I hope that it can answer, if nothing else, it can answer questions for people. I'm not trying to debunk anybody, because I want everybody to understand right now, when it comes to guilt or innocence, I'm not about that. I'm about the research, the facts, understanding, and stuff like that, because I am not at all arrogant enough to say I sat on my couch in Alabama and solved the Idaho 4 case. I can't do that or even attempt to say, anything like that. But, I think we all just want some kind of understanding.
You're so right on that, Nina. I was doing a case and I saw a sink like this where they had lit it up with luminol like this, and it got me thinking about the Idaho 4 where there was that bathroom on the second floor. I wonder if the perpetrator, if they did wash their hands, because there was theories about that early on that he washed his hands, he stole a towel, all this kind of stuff. If they sprayed luminol after the fact, they would have been able to see all this. If there was blood in the sink on the sink, oh my gosh, 12,
The
on the
faucet.
little spigot area,
The faucet.
you know, yeah, that. Anyways, what do y'all think about that?
Oh yeah, I think it's entirely possible. That he might have grabbed something, an item of clothing or a towel or something to stick that knife in to leave. Whoever it was, I'm not saying definitively that I'm not convicting anybody. I'm just saying who the perpetrator could have easily grabbed something,
Right, and
especially
if
if he
clean,
reached around and couldn't find that sheath and he's like, oh crap,
especially out of his apartment, if he cleaned up there.
Yeah.
If he didn't clean up there, if he went to the WSU and there's a shower there or there's a bathroom there that he used to clean up, I mean, he could have went to a roadside truck stop and cleaned up. I mean, excuse me?
I would go to a car wash and use one of those pressure washers.
On yourself? Like,
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
that would
I
wouldn't
just
draw
got
any attention to yourself.
No, I mean, you go out there and act like you're washing your car and sorry, soaked myself. I mean, at 4 o'clock in the morning, who else is out washing their car?
When you were
icy cold night though, I don't know.
Can y'all hear me better? They said my voice is really low. I don't know. Can you hear me now?
I hear you fine.
Yeah, fine
Okay.
here.
Okay. Yeah, that's an awful amount of blood right there. That looks like a car wash.
The bathtub one is from a dismemberment.
Okay. Kiki, any comments?
Yeah, I have
Remember-
I have a couple of reactions, if you guys don't mind. I wrote a few things down while Nena and Crime Sleuthin were talking. So the first one I was thinking is, if you guys don't mind, the first one I was thinking is, like, I totally am not coming down on Dylan. We need to wait until we hear everything before we surmise what happened. But a couple things I will point out that just make the mystery a little bit deepened is it's not just that she was scared of something that could possibly have been a frat fight. There were a couple other indications. For instance, one of the times she opened the door was because she heard Xana crying. And that's
Okay.
the second time is when they heard somebody come back and say to the effect of, I'm here to help, or there's someone here along those lines. Putting aside that noises were captured at 4:17 that sounded like a body being slammed against the door or a wall, the dog barking, we have to think there was a lot going on in there if it can be captured in an outdoor camera 50 feet away. And Xana was crying. And so when I think frat fight, I still think a female in distress crying. And then the other thing is when we say, and this isn't to contradict you, Crime Sleuthing, I'm just kind of building on what you're saying. When we're talking about the PCA leaves out anything about blood or leaves anything about the perpetrator carrying a knife or maybe having blood on him, we have to imagine he doesn't, because if she had seen a knife or blood, I mean, she would have had to call 911, or we'd have deeper questions about her not calling 911. That was another thing I was thinking. And I'm just building off what you guys are saying. And then
I
the other
agree.
thing, oh, I'm sorry, what?
Oh, I just said I agree.
Thank you. And then the other thing that really, okay, So you guys, and again, I'm not coming down on Dylan and Bethany, but this is a question in my mind. Is like, when you call a fraternity brother over because you're scared, or call, and I understand it might have been Hunter, and it might have been not calling the fraternity. It might have just been calling Hunter because he was close to the house, had an ex-girlfriend, or had a girlfriend who was an ex-roommate at the house, or actually, I think she might have been on the lease. Either way, in that moment when you're scared, you call the fraternity brother. This is the part that gets to me. They're big sisters, like quite literally and metaphorically. Like it was their fraternity big sister. They played that role. And even to the point where some of them were so close, they called Kaylee a second mom. It's interesting. I mean, it perplexes me when I think about it, because they called Hunter but not Kaylee. And I know there's probably an explanation. Like I mean, I feel like I know where you're going to go with this. You're going to say, well, they text Kaylee and she didn't answer. And I don't know, but I'm just putting these questions out there because they're the ones that came for me. And then I saw Mittens for Kitten left something at 12:40 at 10:29. Hold on. He asked a question that I had too. She asked a question I had too. Hold on a second. Let me just pull it right up. It was. It'll only take me 1 second. So it was Bree actually at 10:29. So how does someone, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, that's all I got. Anyway, these are a couple thoughts that came to me. I just want to toss it to you guys. Sorry about that.
Those were some good thoughts. Good thoughts. Anybody have anything else to add to that?
As far as being called, my thing has always been that she called Hunter, but then I also read that Hunter and Ethan were supposed to either go work out or they were supposed to do something that morning, and that it's possible that Hunter showed up at the house trying to find out where Ethan was. So I can't say that she called Hunter, but I do know that Hunter showed up at the house, and I can say I know that, but it's based on a statement from Stacy Chapin, because she actually, in one statement, she talked about the girls, and in another statement, she actually thanked Hunter for not letting Hunter and Maisie see Ethan. So that's the only reason that when I say I know, is because it's from statements from Stacy Chapin, and if there's one thing you know about Stacy Chapin, she's not one to just get out there and run her mouth.
Right. And Mittens says, I think it was a study group, like backing up.
Yes, I'd heard the same thing, that a girl was supposed to go study with Hunter, and Hunter had been called over to the house because of the situation with his brother. I think that's what I heard on the.
I mean, if you think about it, everybody wants to talk about, they called all their friends before they called Ellie. They called all their friends, Okay, so if Hunter the friend, not Hunter the brother, if Hunter the friend lives over there at the frat house or whatever, what if he's just like, man, I got to go up there and see where Ethan is. He had that big fight last night. Now nobody's heard from him. I'm concerned, blah, 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 So it may not have been the girls playing telephone. You got to consider how close those houses and everything really are. I mean, if something's going on, then they just start walking over there. Hey, let's go see what's going on over there. I mean, or they start talking to each other. Maybe it was the students playing the game telephone or gossip or whatever, instead of Dylan and Bethany. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I have a question for you guys. All these photos make me wonder, like, if we, how we chop meat and sometimes blood gets on the counter and we wipe it away with some cleaning supplies. I wonder if, like, we took a black light or something, if it'd be able to illuminate all, like, this place right here. Look at that white sheet. You can't see anything on there.
Yeah.
And then under the black light with the spray of luminol and amino black, like, it had just lit up with with blood.
Oh, y'all want to hear something gross?
Sure.
He's like, great reaction. Blacklight won't show blood, but it will show other stuff. So my
Oh
teenager
yeah, I know.
recently
I know what you're talking about.
got well that no well I'm talking about my little girl. No, there's not gonna be none of that in her room, but or her bathroom. But she recently got a black light for her posters, and she wanted to put one in her bathroom too, just for fun. And she put a couple of cute things in her little bathroom too. And she put a black light in there, and she took that sucker out the same night. And because she called me in there, and she was like, "Mom, you have to see this." And everywhere where she had spit in the sink, brushing her teeth, and the toothpaste, where it looked clean, but with the black light and the light off, it just lit up with all of that. Just, it was gross. It was all over the sink. And she was like, "I do not want that in here."
Yeah, being a
Hey,
young
yeah,
guy, you can't have a black light in your room whenever you're a young guy either.
Well,
Just-
yeah.
hey, Gage, I sent you a screenshot of a statement from Whitcomb 911. Can you put that up?
Sure.
Because
Let me.
people are talking about the unconscious call.
Okay, let me show the rest of these pictures, and
Okay.
then I'll do that. That way they can see some of this. This is a
That right
tire.
there, they put through one of those car washes.
And even
They
after
thought
the car wash,
that car.
wow. I mean, all this stuff just makes you wonder. It gives you a different perspective, at least for myself, that you could have the cleanest intention, and you're still going to be found out if people have the correct chemicals and lighting to be able to find things that you can't see anymore. Because I don't think this individual took the time to be like, okay, let me bust out my black light to see if I got everything. Do y'all?
No, he
No.
as a forensics student, he already
Look
had
at
his
that.
PhD, right? I think he could have had a mobile, because they do have them, battery pack, with them. He could have owned one of those for his car. You know what I mean? But I don't think he would have taken it to the crime scene.
Which one is it, Nena?
It's the at the top of it. It says Whitcomb 911, and it actually it is a statement about the unconscious call.
So what cleans up? What would clean that up? Like Nina, you said power washing. Like, is there a
Well,
chemical?
yeah, the one with the picture of the tire. They actually went to a car wash and like scrubbed it and sprayed it. And I mean, the guys were down in the chat talking about, that those things will cut you like a razor, And so, I mean, they actually used like, the high pressure that'll take the paint off your car, and I mean, they thought they had it all, and just those two little specks. I mean, that I guess were maybe it mixed with the water and dripped down or anything like that. But there was just that much left.
The only thing that will get rid of biofluids and blood and all that stuff is bleach. So if there had been cleanup for 8 hours, there would have been a heavy smell of bleach. And that area where they found the latent footprint, surely they would have mopped that if they were cleaning up.
Yeah, I mean, I've never really thought too much about necessarily cleanup as part of it, but it is definitely interesting, that they can't be covered up. And I've heard from detectives say before, that's like, not detectives, I've heard when I've listened to Cyrus podcast here on YouTube, Social Light Crime Club, when him and Carrie were talking about, one of the first things that investigators look for when they go into a crime scene is cleanup. They want to look if somebody staged that crime scene. So it's like the first thing they're looking for. But anyway, sorry to interrupt.
Okay, this says civilian employees at Whitcomb 911, an agency in Pullman, Washington, handled the 911 calls to the Moscow Police Department as well as several other agencies, according to the report. The agency is severely understaffed to such an extent that the Dispatchers Guild has previously warned that our ability to uphold public safety is at risk. Under standard protocol, when callers are agitated, the dispatcher will often assign the call with a generic label of unconscious person rather than waste valuable time and resources trying to gather specific details. In this case, it is possible the dispatcher assigned a generic label while speaking to the students who were panicked by what they saw and were passing the phone from one to the other. I've never seen that before. That's interesting.
And see, I would also like to say that, it said that there were multiple people, right? And everybody wants to, I guess when you say multiple people, the thing about it is, A, Dylan passed out. B, Bethany's hyperventilating. Hunter has just found his best friend. So can you imagine trying to talk to the three of them? I mean, here Dylan's passed out, dropped her phone. Bethany picks it up. She's hyperventilating. Well, poor Hunter, he's still in shock, so he can't talk. And just because it said that there were multiple people talking, that doesn't mean 12 or 15. It could mean 3.
That's good insight, Nena. Thank you for your presentation. That was awesome. Is there any questions for Nena? Be sure to tap a star, or any questions for Kiki. Be sure to type stars and then the person's name who you have a question for, and we will answer those questions, or the person that you're asking the question can try to answer it to the best of their ability.
And I mean, my 8-hour delay also includes the ladder. So, I have my own theory about that down there. The ladder bugs me. I'm sorry. Every picture I've ever seen, that ladder is laying down. And that day is probably pretty as you please on the house.
I don't have any theories on the ladder.
Don't get me started on the ladder.
I think they couldn't get Xana's door open, so I think Hunter climbed the ladder and looked in the window and said, "Call 911."
So would this have happened after the roommate passed out or before?
I think that she passed out. Okay, number one, do you pass out while you're cleaning up the blood, or do you pass out when you realize what has happened?
I wouldn't have passed out at 19 or 20. I'm sorry, I wouldn't have.
Okay, passing out and hyperventilating, that's a reaction to what you just found out or what you just saw. It happens immediately.
Trauma to me all my life has been second nature, so it never bothers me. But to other people, I guess if they're not used to being exposed to that, they would start to hyperventilate. I don't know. I can't really talk for anybody else. Kiki, would you have hyperventilated?
I mean, I can't say I wouldn't have hyperventilated, but I do know the times in my life, and I have nothing close to this to compare it to, but the times in my life where I've been in a high stress situation where when somebody's in, then there's danger. When you go into that type of shock, there's like a second nature that takes over, whatever you've learned to handle that situation. And again, I know we're going to find out exactly what happened, but to think that all 4 had no composure. And and as far as the cleanup, like I don't necessarily ever, I've never really seen any reason or evidence of that. I've always thought maybe that if there was a delay of anything, maybe there was something in the house they wanted get rid of before they call police. I've never really thought about like the cleanup in terms of that, but I just sorry, I lose my train of thought. I don't know. I lost my train of thought. Go to someone else. Sorry.
Okay. How about you, Crime Sleuthin? Have you ever, I mean, are you pretty, even when you were younger, let's take you back to 19, 20-year-old Crime Sleuthin, would you walk into this, would you have started hyperventilating, or have you always been a calm, cool, and collected? Let's get it done. Let's get some help, and then I'll react.
Yeah, I'm the type where I would well, let's go back to that age, like you said though. At that age, I probably would have just started crying, probably hyperventilating. I don't know. But as you get a little older,
Yeah.
now like I ran crash carts and stuff. I worked in medical field and I was totally fine throughout the ordeal. And then after I would break down, it's very emotional
Okay.
after. So, but as a young person, probably would have freaked out. Probably would have at least been screaming and crying,
How about you, Nena? At 19, 20, were you pretty stable on walking into something like that, or any kind of emergency that would have taken you out of your comfort zone? Would you have
Oh,
hyperventilated? Would you have shut down? Would you have gone through it? What would you have done?
I'm not the one to ask because by 19 or 20, let's see, I'd already gone through a DV, divorce, drove myself to the hospital plenty of times. So I'd say I'd probably just walk myself through it.
I mean, that's my train of thought as well, but it doesn't look like any of these kids in this house had a lot of abuse or trauma other than Xana and
Well,
possibly
the thing
Maddie.
about it, you got to consider, they probably never expected, oh, wow, my roommates got knifed last night. Number one, the shock of it. Number two, the guilt of, oh my God, what have we done? And I'm not saying what have we done as far as the crime, it's what have we done 8 hours later when it hits them,
Right,
because
right.
honestly, in the heart of all hearts of my heart, I do not believe they knew what was going on. I think that they thought it was, if you think about it, who ever thinks, oh, my roommates are getting killed?
I don't
and
think
that's
anybody
gonna.
has ever done that. I don't know.
I have a story I'm going to be sharing about that.
Okay, do you want to lead into right now? Nina, do you have anything else, or do you want Crime Sleuthing to go ahead?
Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, Crime Sleuthing, you're up.
Okay. So you wanted me to start with that video, right?
Sure.
So okay, so I'm going to share my screen. There you go.
Okay. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, okay. Thanks there. I'm speechless.
Oh my goodness.
Mm,
That was beautiful.
thank you. I figured, be a good time to give them
Not
some
crying.
love,
Not crying.
That's what it's all about, these four right here. That's what it's all about. So, I'll start with the shock stuff.
Okay.
And
Oh, sorry
this
about
is,
that.
oh, you're fine. So this is
There you
just
go.
you're fine. This is, just my perspective, my perspective on this, my opinion. Um, having seen so many trials play out, there's always stuff that we just have no clue about until trial, you know? So I try really hard not to pass judgment until we know everything. I have questions too, of course. We all have questions and like, what the heck? But I try to give the benefit of the doubt, especially to victims and survivors. That's all. So I'm just going to play this. Let me get my timestamps up on my screen here so I don't go too far. Okay. So do you want me to just, because this goes for the whole portion about this woman right here that shares her story of being in the position of Dylan and Bethany. She came forward after this case came out and told her story. And I think it's important to hear, honestly, because people say, I can't imagine, going back to sleep after hearing, noises that sound violent or whatever, and she had done it. And she lives with guilt to this day over it. So I just wanted to kind of share her story and put that little, thought for people to consider, not trying to convince anybody of anything, but I think it's kind of important. But it's 15 minutes. So do you want me to just let me know
We got plenty of time. If everybody's good on time, we have plenty of time.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. And then after this, then I'm going to skip forward to, there's some TikToks that explain some shock as well. So, all right, here we go. So this is the article for the person that they interviewed. Her name is Alana. Alana Zabel, 50, so she's my age, found her sorority sister and roommate close to death in 1992. A psychologist told Zabel that her delayed response was a coping mechanism. Zabel defended University of Idaho quadruple murder survivor Dylan Mortensen. Mortensen waited 6 hours before calling cops after allegedly seeing the killer. She is under pressure to reveal why she waited to call cops earlier on November 13th, 2022. So I'm going to read you what this article says. A woman who found her college roommate near to death in a blood-soaked room in 1992 has defended the survivors of the Idaho quadruple murder, saying she too had a delayed response. Alana Zabel, 50, revealed the eerie similarities of the attack she survived more than 30 years ago, and exclusively told Daily Mail that living with survivor's guilt has haunted her throughout her life. She has slammed critics of Dylan Mortensen, who lived through the murder of her 4 friends on November 13th, along with Bethany Funk, saying people don't know how they'd react in a similar situation. There's a lot of blank space on this article. I'm not sure why. Idaho victims Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, Zana Kernodle, and her boyfriend Ethan Chapin were stabbed to death while in bed at a house in Moscow, Idaho. Mortensen and Funk were the only survivors. This is Alana Zabel. Okay, let's see here. I'm not going to play the videos. I'm just here for the article. So, Zabel lived in a house with 5 sorority sisters off campus from the University of Buffalo and said she can relate to the anguish Mortensen and Funk are feeling. She said that she too had a delayed response and felt guilty that she went to sleep despite hearing muffled, heavy breathing in her roommate's room and only called cops the next day. Someone was stalking us and broke in one night while we were out partying and drinking late, she said. They brutally beat and raped my housemate. I found her 6 hours later, and she nearly died. The 50-year-old said she had heard heavy breathing from her roommate's room, but had assumed that she was with her boyfriend. The next morning, around 9 a.m., Zabel entered the victim's room to ask her to move her car and said that she had been overpowered by the stench of vomit. I didn't see any blood at first, even though the room was covered in it, she said. This is her and her friends in early 90s, late 80s, not really sure. Let's see, it doesn't give a date. But yeah, all that looks real familiar to me. Happy times in the late 80s or early 90s. And I think this is her in the brown curly hair. Emily lived in the second level of the Buffalo home with Zabel Center. Yep, that's her. A girl named Carrie and the victim who remained nameless, while Kristen Wright lived in the basement with another roommate named Donna. This sounds really, really familiar, doesn't it? It's a diagram. There's a roommate. This is the victim. Another roommate. Living room. And then here's Alana's room where she heard the noise. She was here. That's weird. They've got a living room, kitchen. I guess dining area was probably here between the kitchen and living room. And then stairs going down to the basement level. Wow. Zabel made a hand-drawn image of the floor the girls lived on, noting that her room was on the other side of the living room from where the gruesome attack took place. Ooh, this part's hard to read. I only saw liquid, her hair caked on her face, tongue sticking through her teeth. Man. I called 911 to report my housemate unconscious and assumed she had choked on her vomit from drinking too much. I then called her parents. It was only when the paramedics arrived and commented on the amount of blood in the room that Zabel noticed the room covered with it. Now listen, the psychologist said it was a protective mechanism. The wall had what looked like red broom marks, she said. The victim's hair was soaked in blood, so was the bed and the floor. They think he used a hammer. Man. Zabel noted the eerie similarities to the University of Idaho case. Man. I'll pause here for just a minute. If you can see here, you can, it's awful, isn't it? I don't understand why they took a short bed truck and left it out where you can see right through the white covering on the mattresses. My goodness. Okay. This week, a probable cause affidavit revealed that Mortensen had heard several scuffles throughout the night her roommates were murdered and opened her door. Mortensen told police that she saw a suspect dressed in all black with a mask covering his face and heard one of her roommates say, "There's someone here." She also heard the suspect say, although it doesn't say in the PCA if it was the suspect, she heard a male voice. I'm going to correct that. "It's okay, I'm here to help you," as the person wandered through the house, committing the atrocity. Police confirmed that a 911 call was made by one of the surviving roommates' phone at 11:58 a.m. who requested help for an unconscious person, though it has not been confirmed who spoke to police. Morton is now under pressure to reveal why she failed to call the authorities earlier, with some arguing that she may have been frozen by fear. Well, that is what the PCA says. Zabel said she can relate, having also a delayed response, as she pieced together the horrific 1992 account. Such a pretty picture. Dylan Mortensen picture did not call the authorities until 6 hours after she spotted a masked person in her home and heard them say, "It's okay, I'm here to help you." We don't know who said that. So all the girls, this was move-in day, September 1st. This was originally captioned, I believe it said "new roomies." Okay. For those coming down on the roommate who saw him inside the house and didn't call the police, I understand completely. And I too am in anguish that she hadn't, she said. But I can also say you don't know how you would react or respond in a similar situation until you're there. Yeah. Zabel said having been through a similar situation, living with the guilt of not calling 911 sooner haunts her. That's terrible. "I've lived with the guilt of not calling 911 sooner my entire life. I never saw the attacker or saw signs of the break-in until I found my housemate the next morning. I can imagine the guilt the surviving roommate in Idaho must be feeling. I too called 911 reporting an unconscious person because I didn't understand the extent of what was happening." She went on to say, when you're living in an environment like college, where you're having strangers in your house become normal, it's hard to fathom a tragedy like this. You don't want to believe it to be true. Being so young, I can imagine she went into shock. It's a true defense mechanism for survival. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and skip forward. Any comments before I do?
Oh no, wait till the end of your presentation. That was really powerful.
Thank you. I think this is it. Some of these are muted because of copyright, so. I'm going to read this one for people. It says, "So many comments and videos attacking Dylan for not calling the police. She's probably in so much pain right now since she's lost her friends. Everyone's saying she has something to do with it. Really need to take a step back and think about how she's feeling. She woke up and saw a strange man and probably went into fight or flight response, scared for her life, not knowing if she would die. Dylan locked herself in her room and survived a mass murder that occurred in her home. It's so messed up. Please think of the families affected forever by this."
The internet has had an absolute field day since the affidavit for Brian Kohlberger, the murder suspect in the Idaho 4 case, has been released. Specifically, the few paragraphs about the surviving roommate, Dylan Mortensen. Dylan woke up the night of the murders and saw a man coming towards her, and she said that he was wearing a mask, he had bushy eyebrows, and that he was not really muscular, and he exited out the glass sliding door. Dylan stated that she was in a shock phase and that she went into her room and locked the door. And I think a big reason why everybody is running wild with this is because that's all it says. It does not say what happens after that. And everyone's curious why there's like an 8-hour gap in between then and when the 911 call was made. This is just my opinion, but I believe that if she had anything to do with this or whatever, that she would not have told the investigators that she saw a man. Like, what good would that do her if she was part of it, especially giving out details that actually match Brian Kohlberger? I believe that this information was not released to the public for a couple reasons. For the safety of Dylan and for the safety of the investigation. We don't know if Brian Kohlberger even saw Dylan. I feel like police would want to hold that information back for her safety, because if Brian Kohlberger knew that she told a description of him and everything that night, then that could be motive for him to go after her. And I also feel like they did not release that because it could put harm to the investigation if he knew that they had descriptive details about him, because then he would know that the police were on to him, just like they have a lot more information that they did not release.
Stewie.
Yeah?
It's not your fault.
What?
It's not your fault.
I know.
It's not your fault.
I know.
Okay, just a short little note before I play this one. This is the tattoos that the girls, the survivors, Dylan and Bethany, got shortly after the murders. M.K. Xana, Ethan. It's kind of crazy that the letters are in the exact same order as the murders happened, but I know people are already speculating about that now too. Like, she somehow knew the order in which, I mean, come on, people. Anyway, but yes, they got these beautiful tattoos right after, and they were their friends. I'm gonna play this one.
Don't wanna, won't
So yes, please don't speculate on that any further either.
She said that she saw him. Now, if she was in a state of shock can take hours, days, weeks sometimes to wear off.
People need to start seeing Dylan, one of the surviving roommates, for who she is. Not a suspect, but as the woman who is probably going to be the key to this case and what puts him away. I defy any of you people who are sitting in the comments saying she should have called 911 to do what she did. Because as usual, it's a woman doing what's necessary to get shit done. And as usual, her contribution to something is being dismissed, disregarded, judged, and overanalyzed. You guys don't seem to get it. She knew the risk opening that bedroom door, and she did it anyway. By that point, she couldn't have helped her friends. But she's helping them now by doing the one thing that's going to put him away and get them justice.
Does Dylan know more than what she's saying? I got news for you guys. It really doesn't matter. She's a victim in this. Just like the 4 students that were taken, she's a victim as well. She was there. She experienced everything that night. Yes, we don't know why she didn't call the police, but maybe something else happened that we haven't heard about. Everything has been pretty tight-lipped about this process, and it's made our minds go so many different ways. People blame Jack D for the longest time, but now we see who is the suspect. I mean, this whole case has got us all going crazy right now. She's a college student, guys. There's no telling what she was doing that night. She could have been very intoxicated. She could have, not even realized what she was seeing. Maybe she thought that it was someone at a party, somebody coming back to grab something and it kind of scared her. Either way, we're going to get more info. This affidavit was huge. This is a big chunk of information that's just a tiny piece of the puzzle, guys. I myself cannot wait till there's more information, but as of right now, this is what we got. And until the facts come out, she's a victim. Treat her as a victim. Be there for her because she's probably going through survivor's guilt right now. Because I guarantee you, if you find out that she has nothing to do with it or whatever, this is going to tear her whole world apart. She's a college student. She's like 20 years old. Hold her in your arms right now. Stop pointing a finger and blaming.
I just got done crying for an hour. Today is a really emotional day with the affidavit coming out. Couldn't find it online if you want to read it. Also, yes, my pugs are snoring again. I'm going to do my best to keep my mouth shut on my opinions on that affidavit. I do want to remind people that it is literally only a little bit of the evidence that they have on him that they gave us today in that affidavit. We only have the bare bones in that affidavit. So consider that when you're reading it. Anyways, I know what I think, but this video will likely get minimal traction. That's fine. I do need to speak out for the roommate Dylan at this point. Some of you guys need to knock it the hell off. Speculating what she was doing in, that gap of time before she called the police. You have absolutely no idea. If she contacted somebody, again, it's only a bit of the information that they provided us in that document. People are quite literally ripping her apart in the comments. This is a real human being. This is somebody who has been cleared by the police from day one. This is somebody who is hurting just like the families and the other friends. This is somebody who is absolutely traumatized from this situation in that house at the time it happened. And unless you have experienced the same thing she experienced, you need to shut the actual hell up. I get it at face value. It's confusing. I get that. But the affidavit itself says she was frozen in shock. Okay? She could have easily went back into her room, locked the door. Maybe she passed out in her room for a period of time. Have you ever been frozen in fear or shock? You don't move. She might have been sitting on her bed in a headlock for 5 hours. She might have texted all of her friends. She might have called her mom. She might have been too scared to call the police in case he was still in the house and heard her through the door. She might have just needed a mother effing minute to just collect herself. Maybe that took 5 hours.
Okay.
Crime Sleuthin, I can't imagine what Dylan went through, what Bethany went through that night, what the other four went through, how even the perpetrator, what they went through. But for her to open that door 3 times and then, actually see the perpetrator walk by, I believe, just like that lady was saying, that, the police didn't really give out a lot of information because they were trying to protect her because they didn't have a suspect at that point. But I also think that possibly they should have left that out of the PCA, a lot of those statements that she made. Frozen shock phase, all those other things that really weren't needed to be stated in there, because that put her in a bad light. It almost like threw her under the bus. You were frozen. You didn't do anything. What was wrong with you?
Right. Yeah.
That's just my thought.
In a PCA, it's just a probable cause for arrest. It is not a probable cause for conviction. I think that they thought, this little podunk Moscow, Idaho town thought that they needed to connect all the dots throughout the way. I don't think they really needed to include anything from her at that point. But I think they did it to connect every dot. Like she's the one that saw him walk through, and go towards the back door, and that corroborated this latent footprint is what I think. I think that's why they put that in there.
Okay, I can dig that.
And the bushy eyebrows and the footprint that connected the dot. But yeah, I think they could have gotten away with just leaving all that out.
Yeah.
But
let's get to the good stuff. All right.
Any comments from the girls on anything that I've shown so far?
Just that I think your presentation is extremely interesting. I can't wait to see the rest of what you have.
Thanks. I know I've been, I try to stay middle of the road. I try to, give benefit of the doubt on both sides, on Brian's side and the victim side. And it's really hard, it's really hard to not pick a side in this, my gut tells me they've probably got the right guy, but we never know until we get to trial. We just never know. We just don't. And, I'm super against wrongful convictions. I want to see every single thing that they have. And I think all of the evidence should be, I hate that judges, can throw things out, just at a whim a lot of times. We've seen that happen. They just don't like the prosecutor or they don't like the defense attorney or, they have their own, I don't know what's going on with some of these judges, but I've seen them throw out things that really the jury would have benefited from knowing that information. So I think they should just let them have every bit of it and let us see everything along the way and let everybody make up their own minds, because we don't have probably 10%. We don't know 10% of what the state and defense knows at this point. So
you do have a question. You do have a question in the chat.
Okay.
Mittens for Kittens asked, is that the footprint?
No, this is not the footprint. This is a, we don't have any crime scene photos at all. So you might want to put that banner up again.
Okay.
Sorry. So this is something that I made in Canva that will walk you through the difference between like a bloody footprint and a latent footprint. I'm just going to mute it because I don't even need to hear my voice at this point. But yeah, this was just a thing that I had made in Canva. Hang on, let me see what, I don't even remember what I said. This was like a year ago or something. Let me see. You know how when you get out of the tub and your feet are wet? Okay, now I remember what I said. Well, imagine if that's, blood, and it's the same kind of concept. If you step in something, even, have you ever stepped in dog crap, for example, and tracked along a little bit, or water, or whatever you step in, it's going to be, real obvious at first. And what I did, by the way, is I had to make this floor because I had to kind of make it match what I found on the very last TikTok that they had. I'm going to show you that real quick before I even begin that, actually. So this was shortly before all that happened. I'm going to play this TikTok here. This is when they were goofing off, pretending to be each other. And by the way, I might have mentioned it in this. I'm probably going to skip over that part, but notice all the lights, you guys. This is the light situation in that area on that night. So you'll see that here because this was just before this happened. They just put up the Christmas lights and, so you'll see a lot of light in the room. There was more than I think people think. Maybe I have too many stupid tabs open.
God, it smells like dirty dick in here. Murphy, you've been a bad boy.
So right there behind her, this is the door that Dylan looked out to see Brian, who was probably right around in this spot at the time that she saw him, or the suspect, I should say, but turned around the other way, heading that way to the kitchen. So he had allegedly come in the back door back here, come in, went upstairs up here, did all those awful things, came back down this way, and I've got the pictures of the inside of the house too. I'll show you guys. Went into, excuse me, to Xana and Ethan, and then came back out, and that's when she allegedly saw him. People have to keep in mind, and I'll show you right here.
That's 9:10.
There's that step right there. That's a step up. See it right there? That's a step up. So if you're standing up here, for example, and you're walking that way, you're going to appear a little bit taller, I would think.
I'm fucking late for my meeting. I'm supposed to be there 10 minutes ago. Did anybody do their chores today? Fuck, I'm just gonna do it.
So I just kind of copied the floor is what I did onto the image just to kind of see that step right there. And they were just goofing off and being normal. This was right before, guys. And I want to point out that there's not just, this is that big Bluetooth speaker that we've seen several times that connects to devices, right? There was lights here. There were lights here. Let me hit play. There were lights over here on this wall. I think people assumed that that room was really dark, but I don't think it was. Just look at all the lights they had going on.
You guys, it's 8. Gotta go. Jake's calling. Oh.
There was also this light right here. And I don't know if this video shows the good vibes over here on the other side or not.
Oh my god, I look horrid. You get out of here. You seriously gotta get out of here. You're fucking stupid as shit out. Hey guys, I know I talk about myself a lot, but like, what would you guys do in my situation?
So Crime Sleuthin, I have a question. So what you're kind of saying is when they step off that step, that could have been where that blatant print was the individual stepping off that step, right? Is that what you're saying?
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, because each one of these girls does it whenever they're walking through that doorway. You can see them make that long kind of stride.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think the perpetrator came in the back sliding door, did all these awful things, and then went right back out the sliding door.
Right.
Okay.
I'm gonna pull you out. Failed to already. Is anyone do like a wine night? Like, let's just do a wine night.
Yo, is it okay to have a party? Like just 3 or 4 people at most.
All right. So that video did not show the other, the other wall over there that had the good print here. It's really hard to see. Can you see the footprint here? And when somebody's walking along and the footprint just gets lighter and lighter as they're walking. And now you can barely see it, right? And you have to consider the fact that that floor was all kinds of weird patterns. Can you see the footprint here?
No.
It's really hard to see, but it's actually right here.
Oh, wow.
And I took not just the red, but I did the this one, the pattern that matched the shoe, the diamond pattern. I put that under there as well. So, but with every step, the footprint gets lighter, and then pretty soon there's really nothing visible at all within just a couple of steps. So you can't even tell, you can't even see it here at all, right? So this is what's called a latent footprint. It's there.
Right.
I promise you there's a footprint there, but you can't see it. And I did kind
Those
of.
of you that are coming into the chat, please make sure that you stay on topic on what we're talking about. Please do not take any pot shots at anybody on the panel or anybody that has any kind of thought pattern outside of your own. We agree to disagree in here, and we're not going to have any issues like that. So please stay on topic. Thank you.
There's actually 3 footprints on this photo. The first one over here, you can kind of see. And then the second step is right here. Can't really see it. And then there's another one right here. You can't see it. So that's what it means. It just means it's latent. It's just faded the more the person walks. So that was my thumbnail. So that's what I'm going to dig into today. What it means when there's a latent print. And the reason that I brought up that video is because it shows that you really, with the pattern on the floor.
God, it smells like dirty dick in here. Murphy, you been.
You can't really see anything, right? That pattern is so hard to see things on. It would have been really hard to see any kind of print or design on that floor anyway. And it would have, unfortunately, been a kind of a trail all the way down this hallway. So let me show y'all pictures real quick of where that would have been.
Hey, Sleuthin, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So, let's say, it was rumored that Kaylee and Xana were kind of clean freaks, right? Or Xana was a clean freak. Well, let's say that they mopped that floor a lot and they used bleach and all that other stuff. The footprints would have, there was so much traffic supposedly in that house coming and going. It would have been completely almost impossible to get all the footprints off that floor. Even if you were mopping all day long, there were so many people in and out of that house.
Right.
Wouldn't that have been quite difficult to not find any footprints on that floor?
Well, with this was laminate. I can tell this is laminate, so it does a good job at deterring footprints anyway, and water and liquid and stuff. So it probably wouldn't have held a whole lot of footprints unless somebody had something on their shoe.
Right.
So
somebody asked, so why reference a single latent print? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I'm sure there were, this is down here where Ethan and Xana were. There was probably heavier footprints coming this way, right? And they just got lighter and lighter. And again, I think that they referenced that latent print to connect her seeing him.
Okay. Yeah, it is quite interesting that they only found one latent footprint that they mentioned.
Yeah, that they mentioned, right?
Yeah, we do have
no
to
doubt
remember
anymore.
that. We do have to remember that just because they didn't mention it does not necessarily mean that it was not found. It's not that concrete of a document. It is not. They're not obligated by law to put everything they found on their investigation in that probable cause affidavit. They're not. And I know a lot of people believe that they're obligated to, but they're not. That's just being common sense right there.
Right. And I think, go ahead. Sorry.
You got to stop and consider. I don't have the Exhibit A because I refuse to call it a PCA. I don't have that in front of me, but if I'm not mistaken, when they talk about that latent footprint, it talks about that it confirmed the direction that Dylan said he went.
Okay, was it going up the steps or down the steps? Do y'all know?
If I remember correctly, I think it says that they found one latent footprint and that it I don't know the exact words, but something about it was in the direction that Dylan said he went.
It says The combination of DM's statements to law enforcement, reviews of forensic downloads of records from BF and DM's phone, and video of a suspect video as described below leads investigators to believe the homicides occurred between 4 and 4:25 a.m. During the processing of the crime scene, investigators found the latent shoe print. This was located, this was located during the second processing of the crime scene by the ISP forensic team. My word. I'm just getting over some ick myself. So
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that.
By ISP forensic team by first using a presumptive blood test and then amino black, a protein stain that detects the presence of cellular material. Good grief. The detected shoe print showed a diamond-shaped pattern similar to the pattern of a Vans type shoe sole just outside the door of DM's bedroom. This is consistent with DM's statement regarding the suspect's path of travel. And again, I think that's why they put that in there.
Right. I believe also, and this is my opinion, that, when it talked about the second sweep, people have that inkling in their mind that the first sweep was done, and then they came back probably hours later or days later and did another sweep. It could have been they went through the crime scene once and then retracted and then walked it again. That could have been the second sweep, same day, same time period. Doesn't necessarily mean it was hours, days, months later. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I think that we all pretty much, I mean, if you really think about it, I don't think that any investigation just goes to the crime scene one time. I mean, that's the reason that it stays a crime scene for sometimes weeks. I mean,
Right.
but I would like to address the diamond shape because I
Okay, go
know
ahead.
that it's in the shape, they reference the Van tennis shoe. But I don't know how many people know this, but Nike makes a Nike diamond, and it has a diamond print on the bottom.
Yes, girl. I have a Vans on the screen now. And then also I found a Dickies shoe with the same diamond pattern as well.
Oh, wow.
Well,
I've never
So
seen
we
those
don't
before.
know. Yeah, we really honestly don't know what that Dickies tag was for. It just says Dickies tag with Walmart receipt. And these you can buy at Walmart. They're slip resistant Dickies shoes that people work, like if they work in fast food, even medical, they have to have slip resistant. These are the type of shoes that people buy for that. And has the same diamond pattern shoe too. There's several. I mean, I know that the PCA says similar to a Vans, but it didn't have to be a Vans. We don't know.
Right.
Well, I know when I
It
read
could have been
when I read the search warrant and it said that they got the Nikes, I looked up Nikes to see if there was any kind of Nike
interesting.
that
Yeah, I know.
diamond.
I know a lot of people assume it was the Dickies, coveralls. We don't know what it was. I had let's see, there was
Yeah, because all it said was a Dickies, what was it? A Dickies label or
Dickies
Receipt.
tag. Dickies tag and
Dickies
receipt.
tag. So that would be interesting if that tag was just off the shoes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily the outfit.
So
Hey,
this shows what they're talking about in the PCA, where if you have a latent shoe print on the floor like this, the bottom one is amino black. So that's what it turns it into, the black visible print. Just to show that real quick. And then this was another forensic analysis of how, like I was showing with my little Canva thingy, the kind of the same thing where shoe print with each step gets a little lighter. So all of these, starting with like number 8 through 16, would be latent, Well,
and is it just my opinion that, the forensic team that was in that house, I bet, I mean, I could be wrong, but they probably were able to see the tracks leading from one room to the other once everything was processed with all the chemicals and stuff. I bet they were able to see the footprints walking from one room through the kitchen, up the stairs, from one room to the next. I mean, it would be insane for me to think that there was no footprints other than that one. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
that's just how my mind works, but I could be wrong. I don't know everything.
Yeah. I'm sure there was a lot of awful, and just to walk through that as an investigator,
Yeah,
and kind of see the path. I bet that was kind of horrific for them.
of course. Of course. I
So
mean,
this
look
was,
how they're dusting all this stuff.
mm-hmm. Yeah, they
Just because
dust
we
it
weren't
everywhere.
just because we're not prevalent to any of this stuff does not mean that it didn't go on. And maybe they didn't find hardly anything, but maybe they found a lot. I mean, 50-50 one way and 50-50 the other, right?
Right. So yeah, this was just me going over some different shoe patterns as well, trying to find the closest one.
Well, I should have
You,
been watching your videos a long time ago.
uh
Are these in your library?
huh. Yeah, they're on my channel.
Okay.
Um, trying to get to stop where. There we go. So there was that other view from that walkthrough, program that somebody put up, where there was
Mm-hmm.
this light as well here. So when he came down this hallway and went like this, step down, the shoe print probably would have been somewhere in this area.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask anybody on panel plus the chat, if for any reason that they found footprint that matched up to any of the shoes that were found in any of the locations, would you still doubt that there was any evidence that pointed to Brian? If you find out later on in the trial that they matched up shoe prints at the residence to the shoes that they found at his apartment, at his parents' house, any of that stuff, will that change your mind at all? Or will you still think that there's no way that they found anything? I mean, it doesn't matter one way or the other, but I'm just asking a question. Anybody on panel want to answer that? Kiki?
Yeah,
You're
I
just
mean,
chomping at the bits. I see you right there.
I was just waiting for. I was waiting for my turn. And I just want to say your presentations were amazing. I learned so much. So thank you to both of you. It was great. As far as a shoe print, I mean, I don't know enough about the technology. I would assume if it's a footprint, I would hear statistics on how it's a finger, whether if it's close enough to a fingerprint or if it's random. I just don't know enough about shoe print, but yes, certainly I would listen to any evidence at trial, which we really haven't seen up to this point. But I mean, I just had like some reactions as we were listening to a couple of these things, if you guys don't mind bringing it up, like particularly when you were reading that article, you were bringing up of the other survivor who had a brutal attack in her side of her house, and she lost one of her sorority sisters. And like, I did think that was excuse me for 1 second. I'm sorry. Like, 12, I've been live streaming for hours and hours today. So like
Hey, that's fine. That's understandable.
So the first thing I want to say about that is I did learn a little bit from hearing her testimony. One thing is her survivor's guilt. And I mean, I think that's the hesitation that we all have when we talk about this, is the survivor's guilt. We understand that's a real thing. And just hearing it firsthand from her, it drives home the point why we're careful with our words. However, the other thing I learned from her was her trauma response and not seeing the blood. That was interesting to hear. The one thing I will say is that I do, with all that said, and with all due respect to the survivors, there's just a few, although there are so many similar parallels, there are a few different things to do. There are a few different issues with the Idaho court that are unique to that case versus the one that we saw. There were a few more indicators, like some of the things we brought up, like the survivor did come face to face with the perpetrator. Now, hearing that survivor's testimony, we could think, okay, well, maybe her trauma response was she didn't see any blood, she didn't see any weapon. But just like you were saying, 12, the police kind of threw Dylan under the bus in a way with some of the things that they said. And the problem is the vagueness, and by leaving out many details, whether it was to protect her or not, it didn't stop people from speculating, and people were speculating from the beginning. And it wasn't just internet sleuths, and it wasn't just, you know, the average person. It was literally the in-laws of Ethan. And they were the ones who made public statements in writing saying, we'd just like to have some answers. Their statement was, she needs to answer for the 8-hour time delay. And I'm not saying now that's their opinion or they didn't change it, but I'm saying the reaction that we have is natural to ask questions. And it doesn't mean that I'm not going to, you know, not listen to what's going on, but we know that the shock phase was involved. So it seems that there was terror or mortal fear. And I saw somebody make a comment about that in the chat. And so the idea that she fell back asleep after experiencing mortal fear is doubtful. So like what Nena was saying, in the PCA, it has that statement, she originally ended up in her room. So if there was mortal fear involved, the frozen shock phase, and she probably wouldn't necessarily go to sleep. And we would imagine the phase was over when she locked the door, because she stood in the frozen shock phase as he walked by. So it says he walked by while she was in a state of frozen shock phase. Then she locked the door. So I'm assuming the shock phase was over, but she experienced the mortal fear. So then she probably couldn't go back to bed. I would imagine anyone experiencing mortal fear wouldn't probably be able to. So like Nena said, the PCA says originally, so she probably ended up likely in Bethany's room. A lot of us have speculated, just because how else would she not have seen the blood? I don't know. But again, we hear about this trauma response. So, I mean, it's not sitting here to add on to survivor's guilt. It's just bringing up the questions that we all have, and we've kind of all had from the beginning. And then the other question I want to bring up is, let's just say all of this is true. It's kind of throwing Dylan under the bus again, both roommates, when you suppress the 911 call. Like, what about that 911 call damages the case in any way? And if this shroud of suspicion is already there, what's the advantage to not even releasing that transcript? How does it get more suspicious? How does it get more... how does it put the roommate in more danger? I mean, they already know that she's a key witness. I don't know. And in fact, it's more of questions to you guys and to the chat. Like, what do you think about what I just said? Do you think, like, my hesitations that I hear, even after all this time, do you think they're legit? Do you think I'm, I don't know, just like to hear what you have to say. I know Truth Exposed is going to let me know.
Well, those are some great thoughts. I have some thoughts or some questions for Nena as well, and Crime Sleuthin. Do y'all believe that, possibly there was something on that 911 call that implicated whether they knew who the suspect was? Maybe that's why they haven't released it. What do y'all think about the 911 call? Either one of you.
I think the 911 call hadn't been released just because it doesn't say anything. I mean, I think it's just, the screaming, the crying, that I don't think there's really anything to make out. I don't think it's like, hey, we need blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? I think that it's mostly just, screaming, crying, help, dead, something, just words, like just word salad that you can't make anything out of.
Right.
And so I think that could be the reason for it not being released. And I am in no way a detective. That's just my opinion. I think that you had definitely 3 people there that had just found out. And now look, I honestly believe they hadn't even thought about floor number 3 yet. I think they're just dealing with floor number 2. They ain't even thought about floor number 3,
Right.
And so I do know that, and I sent this to you as a receipt, that everybody wants to know about EMS. Why did EMS leave? Why did EMS leave? Why didn't they go in? The state of Idaho, in the state of Idaho, and I sent you the receipt, they are not allowed in a crime scene if it's obvious that they're dead.
Okay.
They're
Yeah, you
allowed in.
did. She
And
did send me that. So,
and the police are the ones that tell them that they're not going in and that they can just go ahead and leave.
how about you, Debbie or Crime Sleuthin? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I have to be muted for a minute. I'm taking care of my family stuff right now. Hang on. I'll be back.
Okay. Well, let me show this right here while we're waiting on her. Nena did send me a lot of stuff, and
And that is that's Moscow Police Department's, what is it, their daily ledger of calls that came in.
Mm-hmm.
See that it says homicide, coroner, and everybody was, called out.
And
So obviously,
whether you call it unconscious person or whether you call it homicide, I mean, the fact of the matter is, it was a homicide. We know that. So when
right.
people are trying to pick apart wording, it's really like, why are you trying to pick apart the wording? We know the end result, whether they were calling it an unconscious person or whether they were calling it a homicide. The police still
And
got there.
and because I sent you those receipts too, that Stacy Chapin, and I am not one to ever use an excuse if it's been scrubbed from the internet. Everybody knows me better than that. But the November the 17th interview that Stacy Chapin and Jim did with, is it King 5 or the local station, with the girl that so resembled Kayla.
Mhm.
He was in that interview, and let me explain to you why that sticks out to me so much. To everybody that doesn't know me, my platform originated on TikTok in the recovery addiction because of my son and my story. And anyway, I took a break from TikTok and I found the true crime community in January of this year. And my channel is like less than 6 months old. But anyway, my daughter had been telling me about the Idaho 4. And just listening to my daughter in passing, okay, whatever. So when I found the true crime community, of course, the Idaho 4 was the case that was going on. So when I started watching some of the interviews and trying to catch up on what everybody was talking about, I watched that interview, and everything that I heard her say, y'all, I immediately ran into my daughter's room and I was like, did you know about blah, 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 blah? She's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, blah, 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 blah. She's, Mama, what are you talking about? I was like, blah, 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 blah. She said, and that's the reason that it is so vivid in my memory of what interview, when, everything. She said, you got to send me that, And Stacy Chapin made the statement that about the fight and everything else, about the girls heard the rummaging of furniture and they heard a male's voice and Ethan's voice. Okay. And Bethany from the first floor yelled upstairs, STFU. Okay. And went back to her room. And that's what I think the exculpatory evidence could be, is in defense's eyes, is because if she's yelling upstairs thinking that it's the frat guys fighting with Ethan and she's yelling upstairs to STFU, then that could say, oh, okay, so you wasn't scared enough to call 911 or anything, so obviously it wasn't a stranger. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, and that's when she talks about, appreciating Hunter, not letting, Hunter and Maisie see Ethan. I mean, she talks about all of it. And I guarantee you, and I defy anyone that can find that interview that is longer than 10 minutes and 21 seconds, because that section of that interview has been cut out. And I also, when I sent you the receipts on that, it is multiple people that are hunting the same thing, that they heard it too. And these are people that I don't know. This is people that have put it out there. Look, if you've got this interview, this is what was said, and I sent that to you. And I mean, like I said, Stacy Chapin is not one to just come out and run her mouth.
Well, the one thing about that family that kind of interests me, and this is something that I've viewed as strength, but it could be other things, is they don't want to go to the trial. They've kind of healed on their own. They've kept their family strong and stuff like that. I mean, they must know what happened. They have to have either inside information from Hunter or somebody told them.
The statement was that Beth told the twins.
Do what?
Twins now, was triplets. I'm sorry. But the way that she said it was that Bethany had told Hunter and Maisie everything that she heard and saw.
Well, I mean, if that's true, then that could have given them closure, because I mean, it's almost like they've left it in the court's hands and the law enforcement hands, and they've kind of washed their hands from it. You know what I mean? They're healing in their own way, and that's to get, that's respectful. Not everybody grieves the same way. Not everybody heals the same way. So, the fact that they don't want to go to the trial and they don't want to do all that, I think that's a good choice, because why would you want to be traumatized with something that you already have heard firsthand happen to your son?
Her son's still going. It's not going to change. It's not going to bring Ethan back. Going to that trial is not going to be the outcome. But I would also like to say that as far as the frozen shock phase, I do not believe. I mean, I think that was just that is so stupid. I'm sorry, but okay. If you think about it, think about opening. And she did. From the way I understand it, she cracked her door open.
Hey,
she never stepped out into the hallway. Yeah. She never opened her door wide open. She just sort of peeked out. Now just think about the shock of cracking your door and then seeing somebody. You don't ever expect that. So maybe the shock wasn't the terror shock. It was just the shock of seeing somebody. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I can't even imagine, even if I thought it was the frat guys fighting. I can't imagine opening my door in a dark house. And even though I know that Crime Sleuthin, talked about, maybe it wasn't that dark, but it was still some dark, to where it would scare you. No matter what you think is going on, no matter what your brain is processing in your head at that time, it would still shock you, And
hey
so
guys,
maybe
I wanted to say bye. I didn't want to just disappear. See the bat chat. I'm going to step down.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Hear that.
Yeah.
Hey, that was an excellent day.
All right, you guys, take care.
Thank
See you next
you.
time.
Thank you. I hope he feels better. Bye-bye. She has a little one that's sick, so the fever's back, and she's having to deal with that. There's a lot of illness going around, so make sure you wash your hands and cover your mouth when you cough. There's a lot of people that don't do that. Good grief.
I mean,
washing your hands is essential.
But how do we know that they multiple people?
Hold on, let me catch up with you. What are you talking about here? Multiple people what?
Way of calling 911. Well, if they called 911 as soon as they found out, I mean,
Kiki, do you know what's going on? I'm kind of confused.
I just wanted to add a couple things to what Nina and you were saying, if you don't mind. So, okay, the first thing is, if we can, like, there were three things that I was thinking of when I was listening to you guys talking just now, and I'll kind of just go in order. The first one is 12. I thought you brought up like a really good point. Was the delay because, or are they not releasing it because they possibly knew the suspect? And then I saw Mish Girl saying that the rumor that they heard, that she heard, is that there was just chaos in the background, and that was one of the reasons why they didn't. But going back to another thing is, I think where we, someone in the chat had said something on to par. I don't recall it, but it was like, well, they had been, unalived anyway. So whether it was an unconscious person or not, it's kind of mincing words at this point. There was, but the one thing I will say is, if the call had come in differently, and I think I either learned this, I can't remember if I learned it from you, Nina, or someone else. Apparently, they send out a forensic unit with the ambulance if they have any indication of foul play or possibility of homicide. The forensic unit comes out with it. Now, whether that would have made a difference or not, but I mean, if we're going to talk about rumors, the rumor was the crime scene was compromised from people going in. So I will say that. And then the other question I have is more of like, or not statement I have, is more of a question for both of you. Is there confirmation that somebody yelled out, shut the F up? Or is that still just something we've speculated on? Again, throwing it to you guys. Love to hear your thoughts.
I've always heard that to be a rumor at the very beginning. I thought I read it somewhere on Reddit or something that all that came out. I mean, I don't know if it's true or not, but I read it more than once. I heard it everywhere, but I never got confirmation because it was always being stated as Dylan was on the first floor saying, "Shut the fuck up," to the people at the top of the stairs. And in my mind, I always thought there was a doorway at the top of those stairs. I looked at the house totally different in my mind. But that's how it was being visualized to me, is she yelled at the top of the stairs, "Shut the F up." And there was a lot of stuff going on upstairs. There was furniture being rearranged, all this other stuff. And, that was just a lot of Reddit stuff back then, very early on. So I don't know how credible that is. I don't know how credible that is or not. Nina?
the only thing I can say about it is what I heard in the interview.
Oh, so
You heard what?
That's what Stacy Chapin said.
Oh, okay. No one doubting you. Hey,
No. Instead
no
of it
one
being,
doubting.
she said Bethany. Yeah, she
I mean,
said that
there's a lot of stuff we've seen and heard. I mean, I saw a camera and diagrams and all this stuff, and I swear to God, I saw it. I can't find it, but it makes me feel crazy when I try to describe it, and people are like, "Yeah, you didn't see no camera. You didn't see that." Okay, I didn't. I was dreaming it. Maybe, I don't know. So I hear you. I hear you, Nina.
Another thing too is, the 120 to 150 people at a party the night before. Has that been confirmed?
I heard that too.
I have to get back to you on that. I thought that was confirmed, but again, I'd have to go back. I just can't answer it on the fly where I heard that from. But if the confirmation came from anywhere, I want to say it was from a formal night the night before. So maybe it wasn't 150 people. But I think
the Betty Ball.
Was that the night before?
Yeah, on Friday night.
So, I mean, I don't know if there is a confirmation for the number of 150 people there, but we did see a gathering there. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to go back and check my sources. That might be a rumor too.
So clarify this for me. They had that on Friday night, not Saturday night. So
Friday
Saturday
night
night there was no party, nothing on Saturday night.
right.
Friday night was the party, supposedly.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. See, I always thought it was Saturday night. See, I
You
mean,
know,
that's just,
about it is, they want to talk about, let's say there was what, 3 unknown DNAs, and the thing is, there was only 3, there was 150 people. How do we know that was 3 unknown? Okay. They could have 50 DNAs, but they've matched them to different people. They could be matched up. You know what I'm saying? They've got 3 that are unknown, but we don't know how many are known.
in the
Does
basis
that
of all that DNA of the unknown 3, all they're probably looking at is, do these match up to anything on the victims, any of the clothing, anywhere around the victims? Is it in any of the blood? Is it in any of the crime scene stuff? And if it doesn't match up to any of that, it's irrelevant. There's no need to go any further unless you're looking at this as a suspect. So if you're not looking at this as a suspect, then you're not going to take the time to go and do all the testing that's needed unless it comes back to a match of something that's either in the crime scene or on somebody's person or any of that stuff. So I mean, it's really being made bigger than it needs to be, because if any of those DNAs were matched up to any of the victims or the crime, those would be potential suspects, and we wouldn't know about that, because why would they want to release those names so those people could flee the country or do whatever? They're trying to hold people accountable. If Koberger isn't the man and they have another case on somebody else, you bet your ass they're going to jump on that just as soon as this trial is over. I mean, to say that, they didn't do their job is to assume a lot of things. You don't know what's behind the scene. They're not obligated to tell us every step by step of what they're doing in the investigation. I mean, we want to know, and we think we should know, but unfortunately, there's a lot that we're never going to know on how they get this stuff done other than in the trials. Did that make sense at all? My mind is like, ooh. I
makes
hate
sense to me?
myself right now. I'm like, oh my God, I can hear myself, but my brain is like on shutdown mode. I hate it. I'm so sorry, guys. Am I making any sense at all?
And I'm going to get on my soapbox about something.
Okay. Answer my question first.
Oh no, I said it sounded great.
Okay. All right.
I want everybody to put in, look, as far as the Koberger, as far as his family and everybody goes, I feel for them. I really do. I feel for his family. I feel for the victims' families. Okay. None of them asked for any of this to happen. Okay. But one thing that I would like to say is, and this is going to sound really, really hardcore or whatever, but when it comes to the Kobergers, okay, I want everybody to remember that they can pick up the phone and hear their son's voice. If he goes to prison, they can go and see him face to face. They can still talk to him and hear his voice. We have 3 other families that will never hear their voices again. Okay. So I need everybody to understand that sometimes when we talk about the victims' families, that it's not slighting the Kobergers, because yes, they are going through hell. I'm sure they are, but please also keep in mind when you make a statement of, this one's making money or that one's not making money, or, this and that and the other, the Kobergers, they can hear their son's voice. Please always keep that in mind. Somebody will never hear Kaylee's voice again. Ethan's voice will never be heard again. Maddie's voice will never be heard. Xana's voice will never be heard. They're gone forever, never to come back. And my son is gone, and if I could hear his voice, I wouldn't care if he was in prison for 50 years if I could hear his voice. So that's all I got to say about that.
All right. Kiki?
I can't begin to say anything without saying I'm so sorry for your loss. And that was a very powerful statement. And I don't necessarily understand where you're coming from, but I relate to what you're saying in terms of speaking of the families. The one thing I will say though is that there are many people, such as I just read a comment from Tanya Pilch in the comments talking about the police work. And there are a lot of people who either think Brian is innocent or they think that there was a problem with the investigation and maybe somebody made some sort of mistake. And so in that case, again, like you said, people can still talk to their son. But the other thing too is if under the hypothetical, Brian Kohlberger is innocent and your family member is locked in, you know what I mean? Like you would fight for them too. And I'm not taking lightly what you're saying about they can pick up the phone, but I think that a lot of people are also really passionate because a lot of my viewers feel that Brian Kohlberger is innocent of these crimes and he's been wrongfully accused. With that said, I couldn't agree with you more. I think I need to do a better job of focusing on the case and, not always focusing on, the families and these interviews that they give. And, I can agree with your sentiments in that regard too. So I hope, anyway, that was my first reaction. The other thing is not to keep going on the same subject, but then did we agree what day the Betty Ball was on? Because I just thought Viviana said that the Betty Ball was on Saturday. Did you say you knew it was on Friday, Nena?
Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, the Betty Ball was on Friday, and on Saturday night is when the girls went to the bar and to the grub truck, right?
Wait, say that again?
On Friday night, that's when they had the formal. And on Saturday night is when they all went their separate ways and went to parties or went to the bar, went to the grub truck and all that, right?
I'm not 100% positive. I thought the Betty Ball for some reason before.
Okay, on Saturday was the Kappa Alpha and the Pi Phi formal was Friday night. So the Pi Phi was the girls on Friday night. And then on Saturday night, Ethan went with his sister to a formal. Right, Viviana?
She says it was Saturday. It was the Kappa Alpha Theta house. The Pi Phi formal was Friday night.
So there were two formals that weekend.
Oh, okay, that's what it is then.
Okay, thank you.
Oh.
That clears up a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
I didn't realize there were two formals that weekend.
I mean, I think tonight has been awesome. The way everybody has been able to present their thoughts and their opinions, and the way that the presentations were done, the receipts, as Nina liked to say. Kiki, you have any more that you want to present? I mean, we have a little bit more time. I mean, I don't have anything that I'm gonna present. Like I can barely keep it straight as it is. So if you have anything you want to present, I mean, just let me know and we'll present it for a little bit.
I mean, if you guys are interested in the stingrays, I might have a video that's, not that long. We could play about it.
Sure.
And give you a quick
Sure,
sound.
let's go ahead and see it.
Okay, I think I got something here. I
I
can
mean,
share.
because you haven't really, you haven't had a chance to really present a lot, so I'm giving you a chance to do that.
Well, thank you so much, 12. I appreciate you having me on. All right, I've got something here about cell phone interceptors. Now, this is part of my hour-long interview, but I think that the first 5 minutes he explains to the audience exactly what these cell phone tower interceptors on, kind of how I opened this live stream, and I think you guys will be interested. So this is Michael Adario. He is not only a victim's advocate, a professional photographer, but he's a YouTube creator as well, and he has amazing videos with awesome soundtracks. But anyway, here we go. Let me present this to you.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I'd like to play a lot more different perspectives, because I want you guys to know this is my last Idaho 4 live until the trial. I'm done. I'm bowing out for a while
unless
because
unless Kiki
can't
talks
do
you
it. I
into
can't
it.
do it anymore. Do what?
I said unless Kiki talks you into it, but it sounds like
Unless
you
Kiki
got.
talks me into it. I don't know. They did. I did have to break the bank tonight in order to have these women in here. So they're good with chocolate as well. So other creators, if y'all want them on your panels, they enjoy chocolates.
I
I
can be
think
paid.
Godiva chocolates, black chocolate, dark chocolate.
I haven't had Godiva chocolates in so long. They're so good.
Yeah. Okay, let me pull this up and then
Okay.
we'll get started with it. Go ahead.
All right, here we go, you guys. In recent hearings for Brian Kohlberger, we heard Ray bring up the Stingray device. You've done quite a bit of research on stingrays. Could you please just tell my audience what a stingray device is and what they're used for?
Well, the stingray, the word stingray is actually a generic term for a cell site simulator. And there's other terms for this product, this piece of equipment, a hailstorm. They have all different kind of names, and basically what it does is it mimics a cell phone tower. So your cell phone attaches to that before it will attach to the authentic cell phone tower. So what police can do is they can, or law enforcement, what they can do is they can locate a person. And that's what Ray had said. But there's also somewhat of a flaw in this thing, this piece of equipment, that it can deny 911 calls. And I'm not really familiar with how that does it, but it has been in many published reports that I have in my film that this has happened. It has happened at some of the George Floyd protest. It happened at that in Oregon, where they had the protest, the pipeline protest. The issue is a lot of times, well, there's a lot of issues. A lot of times the law enforcement uses this without a warrant. And there are published reports where they'll bring this information in and the judge will kick it out and say,
I'm going to pause right there because I want to make sure that I'm tying this into the subject matter for the chat and for the viewers. So don't forget, when Michael Adario is presenting these theories, we heard Ray say under oath on the stand, he mentioned $1 million portable stingray in Latah County. So it's not like we're talking about something that is just some, obscure concept. This is something that was literally mentioned in the hearings to this trial when they were looking for discovery. So I'm just going to continue before
you didn't have a warrant. This is a violation of the Fourth Amendment. How this started, from what I have researched, this all came out of 9/11. There's multiple people that say that this happens, but a lot of times law enforcement, I mean, when they get this piece of equipment, they sign a non-disclosure agreement. And the non-disclosure agreement is, I mean, it's like bulletproof. You can't tell the attorneys, you can't tell the judge, you can't tell anybody that you're using this. And I was really surprised that Cy Ray mentioned it, because maybe he's not under the non-disclosure agreement anymore. But that was the first time that anyone said that a cell site simulator was being used when he testified in court. I was actually went out on the limb with my film, and so I speculated that it was in use, but he mentioned it. He didn't mention it that he didn't testify that they used it the way I'm saying they used it. He said that he thought that they were using it in a van, and he didn't realize why they were using it when they had eyes on them. And I believe it was stationary, and possibly in the house across the street from the blurred tree. So that's I'm speculating. That's my premise. So. Oh.
When you're saying that, it brought up something that I'm not going to be asking you about, which is very important, is that we're looking at fixed locations right now, but these stingrays can be portable from what I've learned, and they can be attached to drones. You mentioned a van, they can be in vehicles. You also mentioned that these are kind of off subject. I haven't brought this up to you, but I heard you mention once that these are actually pretty commonly used in DC. Did you mention?
Yeah, there is an issue in DC. Well, there's other governments that have these, and there was speculation that the Israelis were using it to track cell phones in DC. The Israelis seem like they have, some of the best technology out there right now. There's a product called Pegasus that might be actually make all these stingrays obsolete, because they work where they'll get into your phone, they'll install malware into your phone, and be able to look into your phone, your contact list, your emails, turn the microphone on, do everything. And they think and other governments have it beside the Israelis. So yeah, it's Pegasus. It's called Pegasus.
And don't the stingrays have some sort of capability as well to do that malware? I think I read that.
Yeah, they can. From what I read, they can do that. I think it's a little harder to do that, but they can do that. They can drain your battery. They can install malware. They can turn on the microphone. So our cell phones are basically little spies in our pocket. Yeah, it's. I mean, Edward Snowden basically said this, a couple of years ago, and I just watched a great series on Frontline, the United States of Secrets, and it's on YouTube. It's a great series, and it goes through a lot of this, and it's most of all this stuff is open source. I didn't get any secret information from anybody, so it's just a matter of doing like a deep dive.
Same here. I mean, there has been a couple of good articles written. I want to say there was one I read that you had noted in Spokane. What's it called? The Spokane, Washington newspaper or something.
Right.
So based on your research, and we were just touching base on this, the term confidential informant.
Did you turn that off?
I paused it for a second. I just want to make sure, because I'm like 6 minutes into this. I want to make sure you're still interested in what he's saying, or if you wanted me to pause here, or I just wanted to make sure.
Can you kind of paraphrase what he was meaning by all that? I mean, I was listening, but I mean, as far as the technological stuff, I'm kind of not in the updated know on that. Can you explain a little bit of what he was talking about to the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So, essentially, what Michael Adario was talking about is this one of the parts of this that is a mystery is why there was no distress call. And on the stand, Cy Ray, one of the lead defense witnesses, happened to mention
Right.
something called a stingray. He mentioned a portable stingray, and so we know that there was one present in Latah County. And on top of it all, Michael Adario has seen some possible, in his experience, in his opinion, speculating that he may have seen indications where there could have been a stingray there, or at least the indications that there may have been something there. Now, we don't know, and it's all speculation, but one of the things that these stingrays are notorious for is they intercept your phone call so that they mimic a cell phone tower, and they do this to essentially spy on you. There's a shroud of secrecy behind them. You sign non-disclosure agreements when you get them from private companies, but on top of it all, if you get caught using one of these, like in a court case or something like that, you literally have to put down that it's a confidential informant. You can't say you were using a stingray. It's as far as I understand, which is peculiar because we do remember in that second motion for discovery from Brian Kohlberger, he did mention, there was talk about confidential informant. So, I mean, I know we oftentimes reference the IGG, but just speculating when we hear something like this, could a stingray have come into play? And I mean, people have speculated beyond just a 911 or distress call, but let me pose to you this. When we talk about a possible dropped 911 call, there is proven, I believe you call it tort law, because people have sued over these stingrays and been awarded awards well over $1 million. So my question is this: if the Gonzalez and Mogan Laramine families reserve their right to possibly have a lawsuit against the city or the university if they did something wrong, if there was a stingray present that prevented a 911 call, well, they have up until March of 2025 to file a claim against the city if there was any wrongdoing. I wonder if they too are trying to find out, was there something there blocking this, particularly when you hear the word stingray on the stand. I think the families would be extremely interested to know if a signal was blocked or if anything was involved. And when Michael Ardario references across the street, I would have to ask him directly. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I'm assuming he's talking about the high side of the house. Because you remember, we see that's one of the places that was blanked out on Google Earth. And then on top of that, we remember seeing those investigators all pointing up at the trees, and we're like, what are they pointing at?
Right.
Stingray. I don't know.
I mean, it's a possibility. You never know. I mean, I'm interested to know, if any of this stuff does make it to trial, and, like we found out through some of the documents lately, some of the stuff that you've reported on in the past as far as the FBI surveillance, that was in the documents. And I mean, everything was out within reason. If it comes to light, it comes to light. It's interesting to think outside the box sometimes, as long as you're not seeing shadows or reflections, and that's no shade at nobody, but I'm open to a lot of many theories,
Yeah, I mean, well, I will say, like, even when it comes to seeing, and I know you're being facetious, but even when it comes to seeing shadows, people's, other cars, weapons, all of those things, there is one thing that we can't deny, which is the people the audio visual experts are going to play a massive role in this case.
Of
because
course.
they're going to be determining whether that's Brian's car, whether it's Brian in the car. I mean, there's going to be so much to do with that. And we are all going to be looking at shadows and images and reflections. So, you know, I can't push back on people who are looking at that. We're going to be looking at that pretty soon. My feeling. I don't know, but
My mind won't let me go there. That's the only reason that I say what I say, is because for my mind, it won't let me go there. You know, for whatever reason, it only goes so far, and it's like, no, you can't go any further. You know, and that's just my bias, I guess. You know.
Nena.
Nina.
The only thing I know about stingrays is the Warren in Pennsylvania, and I think that the Special Emergency Response Team ordered that because they were the ones that took the lead in Pennsylvania, and so I mean, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I think that if anything was done on the up and up, everything that happened in Pennsylvania was on the up and up. I don't think, from the research that I've done, I mean, you know, with them bringing in the special response team to take the lead and everything, and you know, I don't see, because in order for them to get the warrants and stuff like that, they have to do their own surveillance. The probable cause has to be more in depth and stuff like that. You know, and you know, you got to consider that it was a high risk warrants. You know, I mean, he's accused of a quadruple murder. I mean, so it was a high risk and, you know, considered red flag. And that's the reason they went in during the night and stuff like that, you know. And people want to talk about, well, you know, maybe they should have got him when he was walking. They should have got him during the day, or, you know, and it explains the reason that Sir did it that way was because it was the safest, number one, for the officers. You know, that's putting them going into, maybe they don't know who he is. They don't know him personally. You know, that he could have held his mom and daddy hostage. I mean, you know, anything could have happened. And I think that they went in during the night, you know, for that element of surprise. And I mean, they also, you know, have an article that they broke windows as a technical, that it's tactical, you know, that's just the way they do it. I mean, it was a no knock warrant. I mean, I'm sorry, but guilty or innocent is not there. It's not for them to decide. They were there to serve 3 high risk warrants, you know, none of them being an arrest warrant. They were 3 high risk search warrants. And you're going into a guy that's, you know, accused of this major crime, and so they have to do what they do to protect themselves and people that are in that house, and the element of surprise is what does that. So everybody can say that, you know, they should have got him when he was walking down the street or whatever. No, I mean, and that's no disrespect to anybody, but you know, you got to consider the crime that he was accused of. I mean, so, and that's no bias or anything. I mean, I wouldn't go into a house with somebody accused of that kind of crime saying, hey, can you come with us and go for an interview? I mean, you know, just my
Right.
opinion.
Well, guys, I'd like to continue this going, but you know, we're kind of drifting away from the original topic, and I'm kind of getting tired. I don't know what's going on with me right now, but I really appreciate you guys being up here on the panel and giving your impressions of your channels and, you know, your theories and your speculation, your thoughts and all that. And I really appreciate the chat for being cordial and agreeing to disagree, because you know what, in the end, we're gonna all hear it. We're gonna have thoughts on it until after the trial, during the trial, all this stuff. But I'm gonna play that tribute video one more time before we leave, if that's okay with you guys. Because I think that video was just beautiful. I want to hear it one more time if that's okay with you guys. Thank you, Crime Sleuthin, for that. That was beautiful. You guys go and check out Crime Sleuthin's page. Go check out Swamp Rose's page. Y'all go check out Warning Label Nena's page. These women work hard every day trying to get you the best information, education, and thought-provoking dialogue that they can. You know, they work really hard. So give them a like. Go check out their pages. Go subscribe. Be members. You know, they're worth it. Everybody in the true crime community, I believe, does work hard for a lot of different reasons. But I was thinking earlier when I was going over a case with Swamp Rose. The case is over an individual named Emma Baum, EMMABAUM. She's a pregnant mother, 25, out of Gary, Indiana. She has gone missing since October, I think it was the 17th of 2024. She was last seen outside of her boyfriend's residence. She has not been heard from since. There is a vehicle of suspicion. It is a tan camper. We were discussing in the video. If you guys want to go check that out in my library, Swamp and I discussed that earlier. I appreciate her taking time today twice to be on my panel. So if y'all go check that out, there is a lot of good information there. Pass that along if you have any family members or anybody in that vicinity. And we are all just trying to get the information out for these families. I know there's some people that are viewed as different names that people have called upon them. There are some creators that call people names. You know, that's on them. They have to be accountable for themselves. But as far as the people that I have on my panels and the people that I have in the chats, I like to believe that we're all sensible people, that we agree to disagree, and we don't always have to be right, and we don't always have to be wrong. We try to get the best out of each other, and at the end of the night, we try to shake hands and go at it again for justice for these families without a voice, for justice for these children without a voice that are being trafficked, for all these individuals that right now at this time, as we're sitting online, somebody is hurting somewhere. And it needs to be brought to light, such darkness that is in our world. So if you could somehow get beyond yourself and look outside yourself and maybe give somebody a helping hand that you never thought would need it. It might be the difference between life and death. Thank you so much tonight for tuning in. I am 12 Gauge. I am your host, and this is 12 Gauge Investigative. Y'all have a wonderful night. Maestro, cue that music.